6 episodes, completed it. The Vince McMahon documentary series entitled Mr. McMahon. The rise and fall. Two sides of a coin. Jekyll and Hyde. Vince McMahon versus Mr. McMahon. The insight to the man himself. An insight to the character himself, Mr. McMahon. That's what the documentary promised. Anyone who's been part of this channel or my other channel for a long time knows that that's the path I'm trying to get into in making documentaries. I work in my day life to do with cameras and video work and editing and all that stuff like that. So, very interesting to me. I love a good documentary, and this one's even better for me because it's something that I'm passionate about in terms of the wrestling business. And it's something that I have a lot of knowledge on. So, I was interested to see if there was going to shed any new light on things to do with Vince McMahon that I did not already know. Now, of course, the allegations, it overtook what was meant to be a documentary on Vince McMahon in the first place. And they paused recording of the said documentary and then resumed it. And obviously the case is still ongoing and investigation and stuff like that. What I will say straight up is, I did feel like it was going to probably be some kind of hit piece. It really wasn't. It was a good documentary. I think if you're not a wrestling fan and you're just going to Netflix and you want to watch a good documentary, which we all do on other occasions, I think you'll find it kind of interesting. Although you might turn it off because there's nothing crazy and salacious at the beginning, whereas when it's like a murder documentary or something like that, you kind of know where it's heading. You know the guy's a serial killer, so you're waiting to see what happens and what they did and what happened to the victims and things like that. Whereas this, almost like a biographic. Vince McMahon's in the documentary. Vince McMahon yesterday put out a tweet. I think I retweeted it as well. I didn't even check to see if I got any backlash off it, but I didn't retweet it because I'm in favor of Vince McMahon or anything like that. I just wanted to put it out there so other people knew. And he basically said that, the documentary used regular editing tricks and stuff to make him look worse than he is and all this business. And is there some truth to that? Honestly, this documentary is a tame documentary. It doesn't, for me, like I said, if you're a wrestling fan, it doesn't make Vince McMahon look any worse than you already think about him, or any better than you already think about him. If you're a casual, just fan of documentaries, you might just watch this and go, damn, this guy created a lot with that business. Oh, he's a bit of a sleazebag though. And that's where it will end. Now, I'm going to speak about it from our perspective as wrestling fans because we're not casuals. In terms of that, it was a lackluster documentary. I mean, Dark Side of the Ring documentaries are better than what I just watched. 6 episodes, a run through, obviously each episode was titled different things. Basically a run through WWE, through the eras of what he brought off his dad, what he did with the territories, getting his ass whooped by WCW and then creating the Attitude Era. I think I wrote some notes down actually, and not notes but some bullet points just to get across, so let me get to them actually. Okay, so we got the steroid scandal. Of course, we knew that was going to be there. We had the Ring Boy scandal. I know what that is as well with Pat Patterson. That's kind of it. Then there was obviously like the thing with, I think it was Rita Marie, the referee, who accused Vince of some sexual allegations back in the day. There was obviously that Phil Mushnick, that reporter, the one who kept going after WWE with the steroids and the doctor. There was there's a part on Owen Hart, I think it was like episode 4. But obviously that all ties in with Owen Hart, Chris Benoit, the steroid scandal, CTE, and all those kind of allegations of the company. A lot of Vince defending the company over everything. XFL was in there as well. Then you had an episode, I think it was episode 5, just called Family Business, and that was all based around his relationship with Stephanie and Shane. Not too much to do with Linda, actually, considering the allegations and all that stuff. And then you find out that they weren't, they've been separated for years. There's not much about Linda in there apart from positive things. So, and then you get towards the sexual allegation lawsuits. Funny enough, the allegations that have happened in the last 3 years since 2021, that really takes up about 20 minutes of the whole documentary in the last episode. Everything else before that is like a wrestler here or there said something, or even the Ashley Mazzano stuff that was right at the end as well. So there's not much things in there. There's obviously loads of talking head pieces in this. You got John Cena, Booker T, Undertaker, Stone Cold, Pritchard. Dave Meltzer got a lot of airtime in this documentary, and I don't know why. He probably got more airtime than any other person. Very weird, considering he's technically not in the wrestling. He's about as much in the wrestling business as I am. Like he's not. He never worked for WWE. He's basically a super fan. He had Linda, Shane, Stephanie, Triple H. Probably about it, and then obviously the news reporters who reported on the allegations and stuff like that. I always try to go into documentaries, especially if it's something that I want to know things about. You want to learn something new. You want to gain some knowledge on something different, and I gained no new knowledge on this documentary at all. When I mean at all. The closest thing to gaining any new information was the relationship between him and Shane, but they really didn't delve too much into it. It was just more about Shane came across very sympathetic in the documentary, came across like just a son who's always been trying to get the pat on the back from his dad and never got it. Just wanted him to be proud. You kind of got that Shane's love for the wrestling business. That's what I learned more of. He really loves the wrestling business. It makes more sense to the meeting up with Tony Khan and discussing stuff now. Now I could actually see him working for AEW after this documentary, so I'll give him that. Just because I knew he loved the business, of course, just like Stephanie does, but he really loves the business. He seems to love all of it, and he wanted to be the successor. And I feel like when he got too much from him and he realised his dad wasn't going to let him do certain things, he flew the nest. Apart from that, not much else to do with it. There was an interesting part of the documentary. I don't think I've ever seen this in a documentary before. It got towards the last 12 minutes, and they went into the allegations, the Janelle Grant lawsuit, the things with Brock Lesnar. They did cover Sable's lawsuit in this, which I think is very interesting considering Sable left, sued the WWE, said they made her do stuff she didn't want to do, came back to the WWE, and then done on-air stuff with Vince that was giving off the impression of that kind of storyline, and then married Brock Lesnar, and he carried on staying work for the WWE. Naturally, you'd say to yourself, if this man assaulted my missus even before I met her, and she sued the company, when I joined that company, well, now she's my wife, I don't want anything to do with the company, I might not stay there, and I probably wouldn't become friends with this man, but Vince and Brock are friends, so it's very weird, sounds a bit swingerish to me, but hey, no, I'm not trying to, you know what I mean? What else is there? Oh yeah, so Pritchard, the person who's the talking piece behind the camera, asked Pritchard towards the end. Obviously, you get early. Anyone knows if you've been in a documentary or you record documentary, the people in there, they get sent the copy earlier unless they want to wait for the final edit. And they asked Pritchard, like, yo, did you watch a few episodes of this documentary and how did you find it? And he straight away was like, I don't like it. It was a hit piece. You spent the whole time making Vince McMahon look bad. You didn't really dive into the man Vince McMahon. And I don't think they made him look bad. I feel like everything seemed to be quite factual. Or just the allegations. But I do think they didn't delve into the man himself enough. But obviously, how would they do that when recording stopped? Basically, the news for the lawsuit broke while he was in the documentary, and you see him get up out the chair, and then they cancel the documentary. And then he refuses to do any more interviews. I think what Vince means by tricks is editing tricks. For all we know, when he gets up from the chair in the documentary, he gets up like he's had a phone call and there's a panic going on and he needs to leave, and he never comes back. But when you're recording a documentary, that's likely just the man going to the toilet. But you just shoot it as it's him walking off. Or they ask him, there's a part where it looks like Vince is just impromptu just saying, I think he says something like, I've got like a computer in my head. This is how my brain works. It's got two computers in there, and one's going at all times. and then the other one's thinking of something else, and then the guy goes, "What's the other one thinking of?" And this does sound weird considering the allegations, but you have to remember the allegations wasn't out when Vince recorded this, and he says, "Well, the other side's thinking of like things to do, fun, sexual things," and then he giggles. What again? I'm not sticking up for Vince because it does sound weird, but you don't know what the person asked Vince before. It's very easy to edit out what you ask the person, and that's how you do it. And you make the person look a little bit crazy by talking about certain things. Because Vince, very at the beginning of the documentary, he clearly says, when they ask him, what's the difference between Mr. McMahon and Vince McMahon? Are they anything alike? And he says, I don't think they're anything alike. He said, people will tell you that, and they seem to think that we're very alike, but we're nothing alike. It's just characters being blurred. Then it goes straight to everybody else, to John Cena, to Undertaker, to Shane, to Pritchard, and they all say, no, Vince, the Mr. McMahon isn't far from Vince. Even Stone Cold said it's just Vince McMahon turned up. So you hear him say that early in the documentary in episode 2, and then right at the end of the documentary, they have Vince saying, I don't know where the lines are blurred between Mr. McMahon and Vince, and I feel like one's a little bit more turned up. I just don't know which one it is. Which makes it sound like now everything he's done on screen is what Vince McMahon in real life would just be like as well. But again, there's another recording or documentary I remember from the early 2000s where he speaks about Vince McMahon as the character and he says those exact words, and I'm like, he's speaking about the character there, but the way they've edited it looks like Vince now speaking. So if he takes that as a hit piece, I can understand why. But I think all in all, the documentary just covered listen, if you gotta think of it this way, Netflix invested $5 billion into WWE going over there over a 10-year span. Starts in January. That means that product is now your product. You wouldn't want to slander it too much and make it look too bad, would you? So of course they don't. It's very interesting. But anyway, Pritchard goes off and then he does say, the guy that actually asked Pritchard, what would you want us to put in there? And he says, well, how about my wife, for example, who she had, I think I don't want to get this wrong, but something about 4 years, but she got cancer, and I was able to look after her because Vince McMahon paid for all of her medical bills and looked after her and stuff like that. Or the fact that my wife, who was meant to have a short span of life after she got the cancer, 24 years later, she's still alive, and who do you think's taking care of her with all the medical bills and all that stuff? Vince McMahon. So I get it. It's his friend, and I get it. But all in all, just a decent documentary. That's about all I can say about it. It's nothing major. It's nothing amazing. There's no revelations in there. And as I said, they surprised me with it because to give roughly about 12 minutes to the latest allegations, but if you're smart, Netflix, you don't want people going, this is a scumbag, and you just invested $5 billion into the company you built. Let me know what you think in the comment section if you've watched it. They're each episode's about an hour a piece. 6 episodes. I got them all done from last night till now. So I'd love to chop it with you in the comment section. I didn't want to do it on a live stream because, I have to wait for people to come into the stream, and then I get distracted. I have to keep going over the same stuff, and people are going to send a message in about something I spoke about 5 minutes before. So hopefully you get to watch this. If you don't, you're a loss, innit?